and welcome to the course. Here you'll learn some basics of how to speak the Saudi dialect of Arabic. My name is Catherine, and I've been studying Arabic for over 10 years, primarily Saudi dialect. I speak Saudi dialect daily as one of my home languages. I have spent extensive amounts of time in Saudi Arabia and with Saudis, and have taught others the Arabic language as well. First, let's talk about what is Arabic. We can think of the Arabic language as a broad term that includes several different types of Arabic. First, we have formal Arabic, also called Modern Standard Arabic or Fusha. This is used in writing and in official communication, such as news broadcasts. It is the standard form of Arabic taught in schools throughout the Arabic-speaking world. It is relatively similar to the Arabic used in the Quran. However, Standard Arabic is not frequently used in everyday speech. In fact, many native Arabic speakers fluent in writing Standard Arabic may struggle to speak it out loud, and would be surprised to hear someone speaking it in an everyday situation. For speech, Arabic dialects are used. Arabic dialects are closely related to Standard Arabic, but often have simplified and/or modified grammar rules, pronunciation shifts, and vocabulary that is borrowed from other languages. These dialects are often grouped into large categories, such as Levantine, Gulf, Egyptian, etc. However, you can find differences in vocabulary and expressions just by going to a different town a few hours away by car or bus, even within the same country. Arabic dialects can be as different from each other as two closely related European languages, and even native speakers who use different dialects can sometimes struggle to understand each other. That said, the dialects are still fairly closely related, and native speakers who grew up in an Arabic-speaking country can often understand different dialects due to exposure to media and people from different Arabic-speaking countries. If you have learned Standard Arabic or another Arabic dialect, it is likely that Saudis will be able to understand you. This course, however, will help teach you specifically how to communicate using Saudi dialect. Not only will you better understand what people are saying, but you will get to connect with local people and show your appreciation by learning specifically how they speak. Many of the expressions we will teach in this course are unique to Saudi dialect. Saudi dialect includes the varieties of Arabic spoken within Saudi Arabia. It is more similar to other Gulf dialects, for example, the Arabic spoken in Kuwait, Bahrain, etc., than to Syrian, Egyptian, or North African dialects. For reference, the language I will be using, as well as the native speaker audio, is from Riyadh, with family origins in the central region north of Riyadh. You may find some slight differences in other urban centers in Saudi, but unless you go to a town far from the big cities, the language we'll teach here will be widely used, although I do encourage you to get curious and learn any local expressions that you encounter. Please note that the pictures I show in this course are mostly of historical sites and desert landscapes. If you go to Saudi, do expect very modern buildings and facilities. You can often find skyscrapers and fine dining more easily than historical houses. Saudi Arabia is far more than sand dunes and camels. I chose these pictures from my personal camel roll to avoid showing images of people, license plates, etc. During your stay in Saudi, I also advise you to avoid taking and posting pictures of people without their permission. Continue to Lesson 2 for an overview of what we will learn together. This lesson presents what we will learn in this course, as well as some comments about the course approach. As you can see in the course outline, we will be focusing on greetings, introductions, polite words, and high-frequency expressions in Saudi dialect. In this course, I will generally assume you're starting from zero knowledge of Arabic, of any type. If you've studied some formal Arabic before, or another dialect, you may have a little head start. I will occasionally compare Saudi dialect to formal Arabic, especially for the alphabet and pronunciation, but this is just a reference for those who have prior knowledge. Feel free to ignore these comments if you have not studied Arabic before. Likewise, this is not meant to be an in-depth grammar-heavy course. I will explain some of the grammar because grammar is basically patterns, which can be quite helpful for some learners. If you want to simply repeat the phrases and memorize how to use them, this is completely fine too. This is meant to be a practical introductory course with the aim of speaking in everyday situations. Feel free to learn the course content in the way that best suits your goals. In the next lecture, we will go over some of the sounds of Saudi dialect, in particular sounds that may be new to you. In this lesson, we will go over some sounds that may be new to those who do not speak Arabic, and present how we will be writing the sounds in transcriptions. We will show the Arabic letter to familiarize you with the Arabic script. However, we will not go through the entire alphabet, and we won't be using Arabic script in future lessons in this course. The first sound is kha.
Kha. Kha.
This is said at the top or back of your throat, like you're clearing your throat.
Kha. Kha.
The next sound is
Gha. Gha.
This is similar to the sound you'd make to gargle or rinse your throat with water.
Gha. Gha.
Let's hear these two sounds again. Repeat after the native speaker.
Kha. Gha. Kha. Gha.
The next sound is the letter ayn, which makes an ah sound.
Ah. Ah.
We will use the number 3 to represent this sound, as the Arabic letter looks a bit like a backwards 3. This sound is made by making an ah sound and constricting your throat. Ah. If this is challenging for you, try saying ah and slowly squeezing your throat with your hands. Not too hard though. Now try to replicate using only your throat muscles. Please don't go around choking yourself in public, but this trick may help you learn how it's supposed to feel when saying this letter. Let's repeat again after the native speaker.
Ah. Ah.
Let's look at the R sound in Arabic. The R's are rolled in Arabic. R. If you speak in language like Spanish, you may already have this skill. If not, do look up resources for how to learn how to roll your R's. I learned by saying butter over and over again as fast as I could. Somehow it worked. If you don't know how to roll your R's yet, that's okay too. You should be understood in context. Let's repeat after the native speaker.
Ra. Ra.
The next letter is called Hamza, and it's more like an absence of sound. It's the same sound you make when you say the expression uh-oh, and your voice cuts off at the end of the It's called a glottal stop. We will represent this sound with an apostrophe. There are two H-like sounds in Arabic. However, one is said up in the mouth like English, ha, whereas the other is said down in the throat, ha.
Ha. Ha.
You can practice this letter by imagining you are putting your mouth close to a window or mirror. You can pretend your hand is the glass if you like, and trying to fog it up. Ha. We will differentiate these sounds in writing using a lowercase h for the one that resembles the H in English, and a capital H for the one said in the throat. Let's repeat after the native speaker again. See if you can hear the difference between the two sounds.
Ha. 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 Ha.
The next two sounds both exist in English, but we do not differentiate between them in spelling or word meaning. There is th, as in 3, and the, as in these. In English, both of these sounds are written as th. In Arabic, these are two separate letters. For this course, we will write them as th, as in English, and th with a dot underneath. Let's repeat after the native speaker.
Th. The. Th. The.
Next, we have sa versus sa. Your mouth is more round and open when you say sa. We will represent sa with a capital S. Let's repeat after the native speaker.
Sa. 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 Sa.
We also have the letters ta and ta. For ta, your tongue is a little further back and your mouth is a little more open. We will represent ta with a capital T. Repeat after the native speaker.
Ta. 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 Ta.
Similarly, we have the, like these in English, which we saw before, and the, with your mouth more rounded. Let's repeat after the native speaker.
The. The.
If you studied formal Arabic, you may have learned the letter qaf, qa. This sound is used less in Saudi dialect. Instead, people use the g sound to represent this letter. For example, the word daqiqa, minute, in formal Arabic becomes dagiga. This can be applied as a useful filter for transforming words from formal Arabic to Saudi Arabic. Please note that this is a letter and sound that varies greatly between Arabic dialects. What I'm saying here applies to Saudi dialect. We will be writing this sound with a G. However, you may still occasionally hear it pronounced as qa, especially in formal contexts. This sounds a bit like a K, but said in the throat. Qa.
Qa. ق
Let's hear the two sounds together.
ق ق ق ق.
If you studied formal Arabic, you may also have seen the letter dod, da. In Saudi dialect, da and dha are generally not differentiated. Both are pronounced with a dha sound. If you know a word with dod in formal Arabic, you can try pronouncing it as dha instead for a more authentic Saudi pronunciation.
ظ ظ.
I know this is a lot of information and new sounds for those of you who are new to Arabic language. Keep in mind that the goal of this course is to speak Saudi dialect as much as you can. Don't worry about making mistakes, especially with letters that are similar. Native speakers will likely be able to understand you from context, and the more you practice, the easier these new letters will be for you. In the next section, we will learn how to greet others. In this lesson, we will learn some common ways to greet others in Saudi dialect. Greetings are very important for Saudis. They are used all day, every day, and tend to be longer than greetings in places like the United States. Because of this, learning them really increases the amount of Arabic you're speaking because they are so frequent. One thing to keep in mind is that many expressions in Saudi dialect have a specific response. Sometimes you say the same thing back, but frequently there is a specific expression that you would say in return. For example, in English, if someone says hi, you generally respond by saying hi. If someone says thank you, you would respond with you're welcome. As you're learning the Saudi dialect expressions, it's good to learn the corresponding response at the same time. Let's start with hello. We will learn 3 different ways to say hello. The first is nice and short. Hala. Repeat after our native speaker.
هلا هلا.
This greeting is relatively informal. It's approximately equivalent to saying hi or hey in English. To respond to this greeting, you can say Hala wallah. Repeat after the native speaker.
هلا والله هلا والله.
Another way to respond to hala is by saying ahleen. Repeat after the native speaker.
أهلين أهلين.
Let's hear the greeting with its responses.
هلا
Hala wallah.
هلا.
Ahleen. The next greeting we will learn is marhaba. This is similar to the standard Arabic greeting marhaban. Let's repeat after the native speaker.
مرحبا مرحبا.
In response, you can respond marhabtain. This is literally saying 2 marhabas, as in you said hello to me and I give you 2 hellos back. Let's repeat after the native speaker.
مرحبتين مرحبتين.
Let's hear this greeting and its response.
مرحبا.
Marhabtain. A third way to say hello is Salamu alaikum. Let's break it down. Salamu, salam literally means peace. The u is just a connecting sound. Alay, this means on. Kum, this ending refers to you all. But this greeting is used so commonly that it can be used to greet one person, 2 people, many people, etc. For all cases, you'd use Salamu alaikum. You can translate this as may peace be upon you. Let's repeat after the native speaker.
السلام عليكم السلام عليكم.
Let's hear it slowed down.
السلام عليكم السلام عليكم.
To respond to this greeting, we switch the word order. Wa alaikum assalam. The wa at the beginning means and. Let's repeat after our native speaker.
وعليكم السلام وعليكم السلام.
A bit slower.
وعليكم السلام وعليكم السلام.
Let's hear the greeting and response together.
السلام عليكم.
Wa alaikum assalam. Now we will move on to how to say goodbye. The first way to say goodbye that we will learn is assalama. Ma means with. You may recognize assalama from the greeting Salaam alaikum. It's the same word, peace. So, assalama means with peace, as if you're wishing someone to go in peace as you say goodbye. Let's repeat after our native speaker.
مع السلامة مع السلامة.
The second way to say goodbye is fi aman Allah. This literally means in the safety of God, as if you're wishing someone safety as you leave each other. Let's repeat after the native speaker.
في أمان الله في أمان الله.
The two expressions are often both said when saying goodbye, like this.
في أمان الله مع السلامة. في أمان الله مع السلامة.
Throughout this course, you may notice that there are many religious references within the expressions we teach here. The religion Islam has strong historical and socio-cultural ties with Saudi. As such, many religious expressions have become embedded into Saudi dialect as part of everyday speech. I will not go into the details of that within this course. I encourage you to learn and use the language taught here within their appropriate contexts as you would with greetings and expressions in any other language. Let's go over the expressions we learned in this lesson one more time.
هلا. هلا والله. أهلين. مرحبا. مرحبتين. السلام عليكم. وعليكم السلام. مع السلامة. في أمان الله.
Now it's time to say مع السلامة to this lesson. Next, you'll have a quiz to review the greetings, followed by a section on how to say how are you. Greetings are very important in Saudi culture, and greetings do not end at hello. You can expect to say hello, then to be asked, how are you, in multiple ways before moving on to any other topic. You can have this greetings exchange countless times per day, every time you see a new person, so learning these phrases can greatly increase how much Arabic you speak. Many of these phrases are specific to Saudi dialect, so Saudis in particular may appreciate your efforts to use them. In this section, we will first learn the pronouns for you and I in a couple different forms. Then we will learn several different ways to ask, how are you, as well as how to respond. We'll separate the how are yous into two different lectures so that it's not quite so many at once. Let's get started. In this lesson, we will learn the pronouns for you and I, which will be frequently used in the next lessons. We will also learn how to talk about possession, for example, my and your. First, the word for I, ana. Let's repeat after the native speaker.
أنا. أنا.
Now we will learn how to say you. In Saudi dialect, there are actually 3 ways to say you, which is a little simplified from standard Arabic. The first way to say you when you are talking to one male person is ent. This is equivalent to enta in standard Arabic, but it's usually shortened to ent in Saudi dialect. Let's repeat.
أنت. أنت.
The next way to say you is used when you are talking to one female person. Enti. Let's repeat.
أنتي. أنتي.
Let's hear both male and female use.
أنت. أنتي. أنت. أنتي.
The last way to say you is entum. This is used to address groups of 2 or more people of any gender. Let's repeat.
أنتم. أنتم.
Let's hear male, female, and plural use.
أنت. أنتي. أنتم.
Let's add back ana to it. I, you male, you female, you plural.
أنا. أنت. أنتي. أنتم.
Next, we will learn how to say possessive pronouns like my and your, my name, your name, etc. Possession is indicated in Arabic by adding endings onto the noun. We'll use the word hag to demonstrate. Hag is a very common term in Saudi dialect used to indicate possession of something. If I wanted to say that something is mine, I would add an E sound to the end of the word. For example, haggi. Let's repeat.
حقي. حقي.
If you want to say that something is yours to one male person, you would add the ending ek. Haggik. Let's repeat.
حقك. حقك.
If you want to say something is yours to one female person, there are a few different endings depending on the region in Saudi. Here are a few different possibilities.
حقك. 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 حقش.
For this course, we will use its for the feminine ending. Let's repeat after the native speaker.
حقت. حقت.
This ending is more common among Saudis from the central region, but is understood throughout Saudi. However, if you visit or move to Saudi, I encourage you to find out which ending is used locally. To say something belongs to multiple people, you would use the ending kum, haggikum.
حقكم. حقكم.
Let's go over all the possessive endings again. My, your male, your female, and your plural.
حقي حقك حقت حقكم.
For grammar fans out there, these possessive endings are approximately the same as the accusative. Let's repeat all of the pronoun vocabulary we learned in this lesson.
أنا أنت أنتِ أنتم حقي حقك حقت حقكم.
That's all for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll start using some of these while learning to ask, "How are you?" in Saudi dialect. In this lesson, we'll learn 3 ways to say, "How are you?" Again, asking "How are you?" is an important part of greeting someone in Saudi. You can expect to go back and forth asking "How are you?" in a few different ways every time you meet someone. The first way is the most common for Saudi dialect. Shlonik. If you only learn one way to say "How are you?" learn this one. Shlonik. It's pretty much always used, and usually as the first "How are you?" in the greeting. Let's hear it again and repeat after the native speaker.
شلونك شلونك.
Let's break it down. The sh at the beginning is a reduced version of the word what. Sh. Lon means color. Ek is the possessive ending we learned in the last lesson. Literally it means, what's your color? Shlonik. The ek ending is used when you're asking "How are you?" to one male person. Do you remember the ending for a female person? It's, or ik, ki, ish, ich, depending on the region. So, to say "How are you?" to a female person, you would say "Shlonitz." Let's repeat.
شلونت شلونت.
To ask a group of people "How are you?" what ending would you put? Kum.
شلونكم
Let's repeat.
شلونكم شلونكم.
Let's hear all 3 of those.
شلونك شلونت شلونكم.
The next way to say "How are you?" we will learn is shakhbarak. The sh is again the quick version of what. Akhbar means news, and ek is our possessive ending for one male person. Let's hear it again and repeat.
شخبارك شخبارك.
When talking to a woman or girl, you would say shakhbaritz.
شخبارت شخبارت.
When talking to a group of people, you can say shakhbarakum.
شخباركم شخباركم.
Let's hear the 3 of those.
شخبارك شخبارت شخباركم.
Often the 2 expressions we learned are linked together in order.
شلونك شخبارك شلونت شخبارت.
The last way to say "How are you?" we will learn in this lesson is asak tayyib. This is a bit like saying "I hope you are well." The ek is the possessive ending we've seen before. Tayyib is one of the many ways to say good in Arabic. Let's repeat.
عساك طيب عساك طيب.
For female, we change the ending on asa to its and add the feminine adjective ending a to tayyiba.
عساك طيبة عساك طيبة.
For asking more than one person, we change the ending of asa to kum, and we also need to change tayyib to tayyibin, which is the plural form. This is because we are asking about multiple people, not just one. Let's repeat.
عساكم طيبين عساكم طيبين.
Now let's learn how to respond to these questions. One response we've already learned. Tayyib. Again, this simply means good. This is used in response to asaq tayyib, but can be used for the other ways to say "How are you?" too. Let's hear an example of this being used. Shlonik.
طيب.
If a woman is answering, she would add the feminine ending a to tayyib, tayyiba. Let's hear how the conversation would sound if the person answering is female.
شلونك
طيبة. Another way to respond is to say tamam. This is another way to say good. For tayyib and tamam, you could also put the word ana in front of it. Ana tayyib, ana tamam. But it's not necessary, just as we frequently say fine instead of I'm fine in English.
تمام تمام.
A third way to respond is the following: Alhamdulillah. This literally means praise be to God, but it can imply a variety of things, from things are pretty good, thanks God, to things are not so great. This can somewhat be implied by your tone of voice. However, you're expected to never respond negatively during this initial greetings exchange. Later in the conversation, you can go into more specific details about how you're doing, but here the focus is on greeting the other person. Let's hear how to say Alhamdulillah again.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
For all the responses, you may hear the word Wallah in front of them, such as Wallah tamam. This word has many meanings, which we'll discuss more later, but in this case it acts as either emphasis or as a filler transition word. Likewise, Alhamdulillah is very commonly added after tamam or tayyib, as in, I'm fine, thanks be to God. Tamam alhamdulillah.
Wallah tamam alhamdulillah.
Let's put these questions and responses together. How do you transition back to asking the other person? If you want to ask the same version of how are you, you can put the word for you before the question. And shlonik. Here's an example. Shlonik.
طيب الحمد لله. أنت شلونك؟
You can also go straight into a different question.
شلونك؟
تمام الحمد لله. شخبارك؟
الحمد لله. عساك طيبة.
Let's hear a more complete greetings exchange between a man and a woman, starting with hello and ending with goodbye.
مرحبا.
مرحبتين.
شلونك؟
طيبة الحمد لله. أنت شلونك؟
والله تمام الحمد لله. شخبارك؟
والله تمام. عساك طيب؟
والله طيب الحمد لله.
في أمان الله. مع السلامة.
مع السلامة.
Let's hear it again, more slowly this time.
مرحبا.
مرحبتين.
شلونك؟
طيبة الحمد لله. أنت شلونك؟
والله تمام الحمد لله. شخبارك؟
والله تمام. عساك طيب؟
طيب الحمد لله.
في أمان الله. مع السلامة.
مع السلامة.
This greetings exchange can be a lot to navigate at first. On the plus side, if you are around Saudis, you will get plenty of opportunities to practice. In this lesson, we will learn even more ways to ask and respond to how are you. If you felt overwhelmed by the previous lecture, I encourage you to skip this lesson for now, or listen to it, but not worry too much about the content. The expressions in the previous lesson will already get you a long way and will allow you to greet others authentically in Saudi dialect. I've included this lesson as a sort of bonus lesson for those who want to go even further. The expressions in this lesson are also frequently used on a daily basis, often right alongside those in the previous lesson, so if you learn them, it will further increase how much Arabic you are using. The next way to say how are you will feel familiar to those who have studied formal Arabic or other dialects. كيف الحال? This is literally saying, how is the situation? Or perhaps, how's it going? كيف حالك, or كيف حالتك, is also widely used. Let's hear these from our native speaker. Please repeat.
كيف الحال؟ كيف الحال؟ كيف حالك؟ كيف حالك؟ كيف حالك؟ كيف حالك؟
You can also inquire about their health. شلون صحتك? This is the شلون we saw before. What color, or also means how in Saudi dialect. صحتك means your health. So, how is your health? Let's repeat.
شلون صحتك؟ شلون صحتك؟
When talking to a woman, you would say,
شلون صحتك؟ شلون صحتك؟
Another way to ask, how are you, is, أمورك تمام? أمورك is a bit like your affairs, and تمام is one way to say good. Let's repeat.
أمورك تمام. أمورك تمام.
When talking to a woman, you would say,
أمورك تمام. أمورك تمام.
It's also very important in Saudi culture to inquire about the health of your family. شلون أهلك? شلون is the how that we've seen before, and أهل is one way to say family. Let's repeat after the native speaker.
شلون أهلك؟ شلون أهلك؟
When talking to a woman, you would ask,
شلون أهلك؟ شلون أهلك؟
You will frequently hear إن شاء الله طيبين after this question, which is the approximate equivalent of saying, I hope they are well.
إن شاء الله طيبين. إن شاء الله طيبين.
Let's hear that together.
شلون أهلك؟ إن شاء الله طيبين.
In this lesson, we'll learn just one more response. ماشي الحال. This is like saying, it's going. Like alhamdulillah, depending on your tone of voice, it could mean, things are going okay, or things are so-so right now. Let's repeat.
ماشي الحال. ماشي الحال.
Now let's put it all into a conversation.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
شلونك؟
والله تمام الحمد لله. أنت شلونك؟
أنا طيب الحمد لله. شخبارك؟
ماشي الحال. أمورك تمام؟
الحمد لله. شلون صحتك؟
تمام الحمد لله. شلون أهلك؟ إن شاء الله طيبين؟
طيبين الحمد لله.
في أمان الله. مع السلامة.
مع السلامة.
Let's hear it again, a little slower.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
شلونك؟
والله تمام الحمد لله. أنت شلونك؟
أنا طيب الحمد لله. شخبارك؟
ماشي الحال. أمورك تمام؟
الحمد لله. شلون صحتك؟
تمام الحمد لله. شلون أهلك؟ إن شاء الله طيبين؟
طيبين الحمد لله.
في أمان الله. مع السلامة.
مع السلامة.
Again, the more you practice, the easier this conversation will be, and with Saudis, you can have plenty of opportunities for practice. For the rest of this section, you will have a quiz to review these expressions, followed by an assignment in which you will use the expressions to write your own conversation. In this lesson, we will learn some polite words and expressions you can use while interacting with Saudis. In general, polite words can help show your appreciation and goodwill towards others, which can be especially important when meeting new people and visiting a new country. We'll start with how to say, thank you, shukran. For those who studied Standard Arabic, this is essentially the same in Saudi dialect. Let's repeat.
شكرا. شكرا.
One way to respond to thank you, shukran, is afwan, you're welcome. This is also the same in Standard Arabic. Let's repeat.
عفوا. عفوا.
Let's hear the two expressions together.
شكرا. عفوا. شكرا. عفوا.
If you want to express your appreciation for a favor or extra effort that someone did for you, you can add this to your thanks. ما قصرت. This means something like, you didn't come short. Let's repeat.
ما قصرت. ما قصرت.
Let's put it together with shukran.
شكرا. ما قصرت. شكرا. ما قصرت.
Another way to say thank you in Saudi dialect is Allah ya'tik al-afiyah. This means something like, may God grant you good health. Let's repeat.
الله يعطيك العافية. الله يعطيك العافية.
This is one of the expressions in Saudi dialect that has a very specific response to it. Allah ya'fik. Let's repeat.
الله يعافيك. الله يعافيك.
Let's hear the thank you addressed to a woman and the response addressed to a man.
الله يعطيك العافية.
Allah ya'fik. Let's hear it with the genders reversed. Allah ya'tik al-afiyah.
الله يعافيك.
Next, we will learn how to make some polite requests. The way to say please in Arabic is lo samaht. This literally means if you permitted. Let's repeat.
لو سمحت. لو سمحت.
If you are addressing a woman, you would say lo samahti.
لو سمحتي. لو سمحتي.
You can also use lo samaht to politely get someone's attention, similar to excuse me. Another way to say please or to make a polite request is lo takarramt. Let's repeat.
لو تكرمت. لو تكرمت.
To say it to a woman, you would say
لو تكرمتي. لو تكرمتي.
However, when making a request, lo samaht or lo takarramt is often not used. Instead, the request is softened by adding the word maybe in front of it. Maybe you pass me the dish. Maybe you write it down, etc. The word for maybe in Arabic is mumkin. Let's repeat.
ممكن. ممكن.
You can use both mumkin and lo samaht in the same sentence. It doesn't hurt to err on the side of being more polite when you are first learning a new language. Finally, let's learn how to say sorry. For example, if you've bumped into someone accidentally or otherwise want to apologize for something you've done. Men would say asif or ana asif.
آسف آسف أنا آسف أنا آسف.
Women would say asifa or ana asifa. Asifa, asifa, ana asifa, ana asifa. Let's go back over all the expressions we learned in this lesson. First, thank you and you're welcome.
شكرا عفوا شكرا ما قصرت شكرا ما قصرتي الله يعطيك العافية الله يعافيك.
Next, how to say please and make polite requests.
لو سمحت لو سمحتي لو تكرمت لو تكرمتي ممكن.
Finally, how to say I'm sorry.
آسف أنا آسف.
Asifa, ana asifa. I hope these expressions help you show your appreciation as you navigate Saudi culture. In the next lesson, we will learn some phrases that are particularly common in Saudi Arabia. In this lesson, we will learn several short and useful expressions. They're all incredibly common in Saudi Arabia. First, Yallah. This is a common word, and its meaning can vary depending on how you use it. Its basic meaning is let's go, when transitioning from one place to another. If someone suggests doing a particular activity, you can say Yallah with enthusiasm to mean let's do it. Repeat after the native speaker.
يلا يلا.
If someone is going too slow, either in traffic or when you're getting ready to go somewhere, you can say Yallah with impatience to mean hurry up.
يلا يلا.
If someone makes a suggestion that you're so-so about, you can say Yallah a bit indifferently to mean sure, okay, go ahead.
يلا يلا.
The next word is Wallah, and it can have a variety of meanings depending on context and how it's said. Its original meaning is by God, or swear by God. It can be used for emphasis, as we saw before with the greetings. Shlonek.
والله تمام.
It can be used to express surprise or doubt at something someone said, similar to how we'd say really in English.
والله والله
It can be used in response to confirm.
والله والله.
The next word is inshallah. It roughly means if God wills it. Let's repeat.
إن شاء الله إن شاء الله.
Basically, you never assert something will happen for sure. You always add inshallah. It will be done inshallah. See you tomorrow inshallah. Sometimes it can be used to express hope, such as he will feel better inshallah. In other cases, it can be used to mean that it's not likely to happen, but it wouldn't be polite to say that. If you ask for something to be done and the response is inshallah, it may or may not actually happen. In yet other cases, people may say inshallah with emphasis to imply that they will do their best to make it happen. Going back to our many ways to say how are you, you can also say tamam inshallah to mean I hope you are well.
تمام إن شاء الله تمام إن شاء الله.
Another expression you may hear is mashallah. It means roughly what God willed. For many Saudis, this is a necessary expression to add to any compliment. For example, you did great, mashallah. You can use it when you would say wow or that's wonderful in English.
ما شاء الله ما شاء الله.
The next expression is Bismillah. It means in the name of God. This word is often said at the beginning of doing something. For example, before you take the first bite of a meal or before you start driving your car. Saudis may also say it if they are surprised or startled by something.
بسم الله بسم الله.
Another word that you hear very commonly is khalas. This means finished, but once again, it can have many implied meanings depending on context.
خلاص خلاص.
For example, you can use it to ask if someone is finished with their meal or coffee, or to say you've finished.
خلاص خلاص.
You can also use it to tell someone, stop it.
خلاص.
It has other nuances that you may pick up on over time, such as saying, okay then, it's decided, etc. Next, we will learn the words for yes and no. There are a few ways to say yes in Saudi Arabic. One way is إيه.
إيه. إيه.
You may also hear the word نعم for yes, which is the same as Standard Arabic.
نعم. نعم.
Both are used. However, if you want to sound more like a local, you can say إيه. The word for no in Saudi Arabic is لا. This is the same as in Standard Arabic.
لا. لا.
Another common word is حلو. This literally means sweet, but is used to mean good, nice, great, etc. when expressing an opinion about something. Let's repeat.
حلو. حلو.
Finally, our last word is تفضل when said to a man and تفضلي when said to a woman. You say this when offering something, such as when offering a cup of coffee, a plate of sweets, or a chair to sit in.
تفضل. تفضل. تفضلي. تفضلي.
For more than one person, you would say تفضلوا.
تفضلوا. تفضلوا.
Let's review what we've learned in this lesson.
يلا. والله. إن شاء الله. ما شاء الله. بسم الله. خلاص. إيه. نعم. لا. حلو. تفضل. تفضلي. تفضلوا.
In this lesson, we learned some useful phrases that can help you navigate both the language and the culture. In the next lesson, we will learn a few phrases that you can use when struggling to communicate. In this lesson, we will learn some phrases you can use when you don't understand what someone is saying in Arabic. To say you didn't understand, you can say ما فهمت.
ما فهمت. ما فهمت.
To ask someone to repeat what they just said, you can say مرة ثانية, a second time or again.
مرة ثانية. مرة ثانية.
You can also add please to the end of it.
مرة ثانية لو سمحت. مرة ثانية لو سمحت.
If you want someone to speak more slowly, or walk more slowly, or drive more slowly, you can tell them شوي شوي.
شوي شوي. شوي شوي.
You can add ممكن to these requests as well, as we saw in the lesson on polite words. To say you only speak a little bit of Arabic, you would say
أتكلم عربي شوي بس. أتكلم عربي شوي بس.
To help expand your Arabic language skills, you can ask someone how to say things in Arabic. For example, you could point to a car and say
شلون أقول car بالعربي؟ شلون أقول car بالعربي؟
To ask, how do you say coffee in Arabic? You'd say
شلون أقول coffee بالعربي؟ شلون أقول coffee بالعربي؟
Keep in mind that many Saudis will give you the formal Arabic word in response to your question. Often, this is the same as the Saudi dialect word. For example, car is approximately the same in both Standard Arabic and Saudi dialect, سيارة. The word for coffee has a bit different pronunciation, قهوة in formal Arabic and قهوة in Saudi dialect. If you specifically want to know the word or expression in Saudi dialect, you can ask instead
شلون أقول coffee باللهجة السعودية؟ شلون أقول coffee باللهجة السعودية؟
اللهجة السعودية means Saudi dialect, or the spoken version of Arabic used in Saudi. Let's review what we learned in this lesson.
ما فهمت. مرة ثانية لو سمحت. شوي شوي. أتكلم عربي شوي بس. شلون أقول car بالعربي؟ شلون أقول coffee باللهجة السعودية؟
In this lesson, we learned some phrases you can use to help you communicate in Arabic. In the next lesson, we will cover all of the question words in Saudi dialect. In this lesson, we will learn all the question words in Saudi dialect. While we will only use a few in the expressions we will learn in this course, we will go over all of them in this lesson for your reference due to their common use. First is the word for what, wish. This is sometimes shortened to sh when said quickly or in front of other words, as we saw with shlonek. Let's repeat.
Wish. Wish.
Next, where, wain. We will use this word a lot in the following sections. Let's repeat.
Wain. Wain.
Next, we will learn how to say who. There are a few different ways this is said in Saudi, including min and min. In this course, we will use min. Let's repeat.
من. من.
Next is when, meta. This is about the same as in standard Arabic. Let's repeat.
متى. متى.
The next word is why, ليش. Let's repeat.
ليش. ليش.
Next up is how, which we saw in the how are you sections. شلون.
شلون. شلون.
You may also hear كيف in the place of شلون.
كيف. كيف.
How many is كم.
كم. كم.
When asking about a price, you would say بكم.
بكم. بكم.
For example, if you wanted to ask how much does that cost, you would say بكم هذا.
بكم هذا. بكم هذا.
Let's repeat all the question words we covered in this lesson.
وش. وين. من. متى. ليش. شلون. كيف. كم. بكم. بكم هذا.
That's all for the question words. In the next lessons, we will use some of these words to help talk about our stay in Saudi and introduce ourselves. In this lesson, we will learn how to ask someone for their name and how to respond with your own name. First, let's learn the word for name. Ism. Let's repeat.
اسم. اسم.
Now let's learn how to say my name. Ismi.
اسمي. اسمي.
To say my name is, you would say ismi and then your name. For example, I would say ismi Catherine. This literally means my name Catherine. The verb to be, like is, are, am, is generally implied and not required in Arabic sentences, at least for the examples we are using. Try to say ismi and then your name. Let's hear the example from our native speaker.
اسمي سلمان. اسمي سلمان.
If you want to ask what is your name in a polite way, you would say al-ism al-karim. Let's repeat.
الاسم الكريم. الاسم الكريم.
It is also very common to hear this question asked as shismik and shismits in more casual and informal situations. You may also hear shismik ent and shismits enti. If you are not sure which to use when meeting a new person, it's best to use al-ism al-karim and err on the side of being more formal. To say nice to meet you, you can say فرصة سعيدة.
فرصة سعيدة. فرصة سعيدة.
You can also say تشرفنا.
تشرفنا. تشرفنا.
Another way to say nice to meet you is ونعم.
ونعم. ونعم.
Let's hear some dialogues between two people meeting each other for the first time. First, they will greet each other by saying hello and asking how are you back and forth, as we learned in previous lessons. Then they will ask each other for their names. They will say nice to meet you, then goodbye. Try to see how much you can understand. We will hear each dialogue twice, first more quickly, then a little slower. Let's hear the first dialogue. مرحبا.
مرحبتين.
شلونك؟
والله تمام الحمد لله. أنتي وشلونك؟
طيبة الحمد لله. شخبارك؟
الحمد لله، أمورك تمام.
ماشي الحال. الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي عبد الله. الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي لطيفة.
تشرفنا.
تشرفنا.
يلا في أمان الله. مع السلامة.
مع السلامة. Let's hear it again, slower this time. مرحبا.
مرحبتين.
شلونك؟
والله تمام الحمد لله. أنتي وشلونك؟
طيبة الحمد لله. شخبارك؟
الحمد لله، أمورك تمام.
ماشي الحال. الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي عبد الله. الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي لطيفة.
تشرفنا.
تشرفنا.
يلا في أمان الله. مع السلامة.
مع السلامة. Now let's hear the second dialogue.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
كيف الحال؟
تمام الحمد لله. شلونك؟
الحمد لله. شخبارك؟ تمام إن شاء الله.
والله تمام الحمد لله. عساك طيب؟
طيب الحمد لله. الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي مها.
ونعم.
والاسم الكريم؟
أنا حمد.
تشرفنا.
تشرفنا.
مع السلامة.
فمان الله. مع السلامة.
Here is the dialogue another time, a little slower.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
كيف الحال؟
تمام الحمد لله. شلونك؟
الحمد لله. شخبارك؟ تمام إن شاء الله.
والله تمام الحمد لله. عساك طيب؟
طيب الحمد لله. الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي مها.
ونعم.
والاسم الكريم؟
أنا حمد.
تشرفنا.
تشرفنا.
مع السلامة.
فمان الله. مع السلامة.
In the next lesson, we will continue to build on this introductory conversation by learning how to provide more details about ourselves. In this lesson, we will learn how to ask and answer 3 questions that all have to do with where. Where are you from? Where do you live? And where do you work or study? First, let's review how to say the word where in Saudi dialect. Do you remember? Wayne.
وين؟ وين؟
To say from where, you would add the word min, from.
من وين؟ من وين؟
To say where are you from, you add the word for you to either at the beginning or the end of the sentence, and use a question tone in your voice. The verb to be, such as are, is generally left out in Arabic in these examples. Word for word, it's like saying, you from where? And min wain? If you are talking to a male person, the word for you is ent.
أنت من وين؟ أنت من وين؟
It is very common for the word order in this sentence to be switched. Min wain ent.
من وين أنت؟ من وين أنت؟
If you are talking to a female person, the word for you is enti.
أنت من وين؟ أنت من وين؟ من وين أنت؟ من وين أنت؟
To answer this question, you would say أنا من, and then add the country, region, or city where you are from. Let's hear some examples. I am from the United States.
أنا من أمريكا.
I am from Great Britain.
أنا من بريطانيا.
I am from the Philippines.
أنا من الفلبين.
I am from Pakistan.
أنا من باكستان.
I am from India.
أنا من الهند.
I am from Egypt.
أنا من مصر.
As you can see, some of these countries closely resemble how they are said in English, whereas others are quite different. I encourage you to look up how your country, region, or city is said in Arabic so that you can answer this question for yourself. To ask, where do you live? You can say, Wain Sakin to a man and Wain Sakina to a woman.
وين ساكن؟ وين ساكن؟ وين ساكنة؟ وين ساكنة؟
To answer this question, you can say أنا ساكن في, then the place if you are a man, or أنا ساكنة في, then the place if you are a woman. Let's hear some examples. I live in Canada.
أنا ساكن في كندا.
I live in Spain.
أنا ساكن في إسبانيا.
I live in the north of Riyadh.
أنا ساكن في شمال الرياض.
I live in the eastern province.
أنا ساكن في الشرقية.
Bigger cities in Saudi are often divided up into specific districts. The word for a district or neighborhood is حي.
حي. حي.
If you wanted to say, for example, Yasmin district, you would say حي al-Yasmin. Here are a few examples for Riyadh. I live in Yasmin district.
أنا ساكن في حي الياسمين.
I live in the Suleymaniya district.
أنا ساكن في حي السليمانية.
Our next question for this lesson is, where do you work? وين تشتغل when talking to a man, and وين تشتغلين when talking to a woman.
وين تشتغل؟ وين تشتغل؟ وين تشتغلين؟ وين تشتغلين؟
The above sentences use the verb for to work. If it's easier to remember, you can also use the noun version, work, which is شغل. For example, you can say وين شغلك? Where is your work?
وين شغلك؟ وين شغلك؟
When talking to a woman, you would say
وين شغلت؟ وين شغلت؟
To answer this question, you would say أشتغل في, I work at or I work in.
أشتغل في. أشتغل في.
Let's hear some examples. I work in the United States.
أشتغل في أمريكا.
I work in London.
أشتغل في لندن.
I work in Jeddah.
أشتغل في جدة.
I work at Aramco.
أشتغل في أرامكو.
I work at a school.
أشتغل في مدرسة.
I work at Al Habib Hospital.
أشتغل في مستشفى الحبيب.
If you want to ask where someone studies, you say وين تدرس if talking to a man, and وين تدرسين if talking to a woman. Note that we add the same in ending as we did with تشتغل and تشتغلين.
وين تدرس؟ وين تدرس؟ وين تدرسين؟ وين تدرسين؟
To say I study, you would say أدرس. Let's hear some examples of responses to this question. I study at King Saud University.
أدرس في جامعة الملك سعود.
I study at Columbia University.
أدرس في جامعة كولومبيا.
I study at an Arabic language institute.
أدرس في معهد اللغة العربية.
Let's review what we've learned in this lesson.
أنت من وين؟ أنتي من وين؟ أنا من أمريكا. أنا من باكستان. وين ساكن؟ وين ساكنة؟ أنا ساكن في جدة. أنا ساكن في الشرقية. وين تشتغل؟ وين تشتغلين؟ أشتغل في أرامكو. وين تدرس؟ وين تدرسين؟ أدرس في جامعة الملك سعود.
You now have the building blocks you need to have an introductory conversation in Saudi Arabic. Your assignment will be writing out the answers to these questions for yourself so that you are prepared if Saudis ask you these questions. In the next lesson, we will put everything we've learned together with some sample dialogues. Now let's put everything we've learned together with some dialogues. In these dialogues, two people will greet each other, then introduce each other by asking and giving their names. Where are they from, where they live, and where they work. Then they will say goodbye. Try to listen without looking at the transcripts and translations to see how much you can understand. Here is the first dialogue.
هلا.
أهلين.
شلونك؟
طيبة الحمد لله. أنت شلونك؟
والله تمام الحمد لله. شخبارك؟
تمام الحمد لله. شلون أهلك؟ إن شاء الله تمام؟
تمام الحمد لله. الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي نورة. الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي سلطان. من وين انتي؟
أنا من الجبيل. أنت من وين؟
أنا من الطايف. وين ساكنة؟
أنا ساكنة في شرقية. أنت وين ساكن؟
أنا ساكن بالرياض. وين تشتغلين؟
أشتغل في أرامكو. أنت وين تشتغل؟
أشتغل في مستشفى الحبيب.
فرصة سعيدة.
فرصة سعيدة.
فمن الله. مع السلامة.
فمان الله. مع السلامة.
Let's hear the conversation again, a little slower.
هلا.
أهلين.
شلونك؟
طيبة الحمد لله. أنت شلونك؟
والله تمام الحمد لله. شخبارك؟
تمام الحمد لله. شلون أهلك؟ إن شاء الله تمام؟
تمام الحمد لله. الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي نورة. الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي سلطان. من وين أنتِ؟
أنا من الجبيل. أنت من وين؟
أنا من الطايف. وين ساكنة؟
أنا ساكنة في الشرقية. أنت وين ساكن؟
أنا ساكن في الرياض. وين تشتغلين؟
أشتغل في أرامكو. أنت وين تشتغل؟
أشتغل في مستشفى الحبيب.
فرصة سعيدة.
فرصة سعيدة.
فمان الله. مع السلامة.
فمان الله. مع السلامة.
Now we'll hear a second conversation.
مرحبا.
مرحبتين.
شلونك؟
تمام الحمد لله. أنت شلونك؟
والله تمام. شخبارك؟ عساك طيبة.
طيبة الحمد لله. شلون أمورك؟
تمام الحمد لله.
الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي فهد.
ونعم.
والاسم الكريم؟
اسمي منيرة.
ونعم.
من وين أنت؟
أنا من المدينة. أنت من وين؟
أنا من مكة. وين ساكن؟
أنا ساكن في جدة. أنت وين ساكنة؟
أنا ساكنة في العلا. وين تشتغل؟
أشتغل في مستشفى الحبيب. أنت وين تشتغلين؟
ما أشتغل. أدرس في الجامعة.
ما شاء الله. وش تدرسين؟
أدرس لغة عربية.
حلو. يلا فمان الله. مع السلامة.
مع السلامة. Let's hear it again, a little slower.
مرحبا.
مرحبتين.
شلونك؟
تمام الحمد لله. أنت شلونك؟
والله تمام. شخبارك؟ عساك طيبة.
طيبة الحمد لله. شلون أمورك؟
تمام الحمد لله.
الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي فهد.
ونعم.
الاسم الكريم؟
اسمي منيرة.
ونعم.
من وين أنت؟
أنا من المدينة. أنت من وين؟
أنا من مكة. وين ساكن؟
أنا ساكن في جدة. أنت وين ساكنة؟
أنا ساكنة في العلا. وين تشتغل؟
أشتغل في مستشفى الحبيب. أنت وين تشتغلين؟
ما أشتغل. أدرس في الجامعة.
ما شاء الله. وش تدرسين؟
أدرس لغة عربية.
حلو. يلا فمان الله. مع السلامة.
مع السلامة. This was our final lesson on Saudi dialect. Now it's time to go out and use what you've learned. This concludes our introductory course on Saudi Arabic dialect. We have covered how to say hello and how are you, how to introduce yourself, how to say nice to meet you and goodbye, and some other common phrases. I hope that this gives you a foundation for using Arabic with Saudis. Remember, the more you try to speak, the more practice you'll get and the easier it will be. Even using a little bit of Arabic will likely be appreciated by Saudis, especially if you are able to speak to them using their dialect. If you have any feedback about the course or requests for future course content, please feel free to contact me. Shukran, ma'assalama.